We begin tonight with a huge win for President Trump. The U.S. Supreme Court has let stand the president's travel ban on people from 5 mostly Muslim countries and 2 others. The White House had framed the rule as crucial for national security. Opponents called it religious discrimination. My colleague and anchor of Fox News at Night, Shannon Bream, is at the Supreme Court, where she's been all day, with what happened and why, along with the implications going forward. Good evening, Shannon.
Hello, Brett. Well, the majority made clear today that the president was well within his powers under the law to set the conditions for people who want to come to this country. It's a victory for them today, but this case is actually not over.
No ban! No wall! No ban! No wall!
After more than a year of legal wrangling, losses in the lower courts, and 3 different versions, the president's so-called travel ban has been upheld in a 5-4 opinion by the U.S. Supreme Court. Writing for the majority, Chief Justice Roberts said, quote, "By its plain language, federal law grants the president broad discretion to suspend the entry of aliens into the United States. The president lawfully exercised that discretion based on his findings following a worldwide multi-agency review that entry of the covered aliens would be detrimental to the national interest."
What we're doing is looking at countries in a rational way. I defy anybody to tell me that any of the countries named that the government is in control, that the vetting process works, and terrorism is not a problem.
What the majority didn't do was look to the various statements President Trump made as both a candidate and newly sworn-in commander-in-chief to decide whether the ban was motivated by religious animus. The Chief Justice again, quote, "The proclamation is expressly premised on legitimate purposes. The text says nothing about religion." But in one of 2 passionate dissents, Justice Sotomayor blasted the majority for not looking to Mr. Trump's statements. Quote, "Based on the evidence in the record, a reasonable observer would conclude that the proclamation was motivated by anti-Muslim animus. The majority holds otherwise by ignoring the facts, misconstruing our legal precedent, and turning a blind eye to the pain and suffering the proclamation inflicts upon countless families and individuals."
This is really a sad day for America. Make no mistake, the Supreme Court has endorsed bigotry and Islamophobia.
The majority and dissent also sparred over comparisons to Korematsu, a 1944 ruling upholding a presidential directive ordering Japanese Americans into internment camps in World War II. Justice Sotomayor claiming the majority's reasoning today paralleled that decision from more than 7 decades ago, writing, "In Korematsu, the court gave a pass to an odious, gravely injurious racial classification authorized by an executive order." The Chief Justice explicitly rejected the comparison, quote, "Whatever rhetorical advantage the dissent may see in doing so, Korematsu has nothing to do with this case. It is wholly inapt to liken that morally repugnant order to a facially neutral policy denying certain foreign nationals the privilege of admission." And the case doesn't end here, because the Supreme Court was specifically ruling on whether or not an injunction against the travel ban 3.0 could stand. So now today, with this guidance from the justices, it goes back to the lower court for a decision actually on the merits. Brett?
Jen, there was also another ruling today regarding crisis pregnancy centers in California. How did that pan out?
Well, the state there passed a law that it managed to scoop up all the pro-life pregnancy centers, almost all of them in the state, essentially telling them that they had to provide all kinds of information to potential clients, including about where they could find abortions and access them. Well, these clinics sued, saying that violates their free speech rights, and said it's actually antithetical to the mission that they have, which is to encourage women to carry their pregnancies to term. It was a 5-4 decision written by Clarence Thomas. He essentially found that it's a good chance these clinics are going to prevail on the merits, so he sent back the case to California for them to deal with it. Brett?
Still waiting on one more?
We are. Tomorrow we're waiting on a big case involving whether or not public sector employees can be forced to pay fees or dues into a union whose political messages they don't agree with. It could impact millions of people across the country. We'll get it at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Another big day. Shannon Bream outside the court. Shannon, thanks.